Maybe that's the link, and I gave you the wrong one. All right, we'll just edit it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We certainly apologize for the trouble we had this afternoon actually getting out and going live. So you probably heard Missy and I chatting a bit about Kickstart and the issues we were having, and we apologize for that. If you're still with us, great. Otherwise, if you weren't aware, every time we do a training like this, the video automatically goes to our playlist. And so you can definitely watch it another time since we're starting about 15 to 17 minutes late. If you're still here, great. We're excited to have you. We are welcome all of our Keller Eyes teachers who are here live or who watch this as a recording later. I'll probably do this training more like it's a recording since I know we probably lost most of our watchers during our time of troubleshooting our Go Live link. But you're here today to learn about 8 things we love about Seesaw. Now, we already had a bazillion things we loved about Seesaw under our belt: the journal, the creative canvas, the communication with parents and families. All of those things are amazing about Seesaw, and we absolutely love them. The things we're going to highlight today are 8 newish or newer things that Seesaw has going on, and we're excited to share those with you today. So since most of you are not live, I'm going to skip the house cleanup or the getting our house in order part. If you do these with us, you've probably heard us say it before. We like for you to get the chat window and chat with us, but since we're doing this one mostly as a recording, then we will skip this part today. If you watch this later and you want to email me and let me know that you watched it, it's Christy Harold in Keller ISD. I'll be happy to give you your 1 hour of SBEC training for watching. And we'll skip the part about creating a channel just because we're going to do this more as a recording today. All right, number one of the first things that's newer in Seesaw that we love is site-wide standards. If you didn't know, Seesaw took almost all of the international standards for learning and they have added them to their Seesaw pre-made vetted activities. So if using Seesaw activities is something you've done or really like to do, now your Texas TEKS are plugged in, which is helpful in a multitude of ways. And I'll show you how you can find these. When you're in the library, you are going to click on your library and you are going to look for this button right here called Browse by Standards and Curriculum. When you click on that, it's going to open up a new tab for you, and it's going to be their standards and curriculum alignment tool. You can probably guess what you do here. Every time you do this, you're going to have to find your Texas TEKS or your standards. You're going to choose a subject. We'll start with language arts, and you're going to choose your grade level. And then you're going to search. In the background, Seesaw is going to do its magic, filtering the standard TEKS for language arts and first grade and matching them to the activities that they've already created. So if I'm working on this TEK for listen actively, ask relevant questions to clarify information, and answer questions with multi-word responses, Seesaw feels like they have 21 correlated activities that match that TEK. If I click on this 21, I can see what those activities are, and I can even click from right here. I'm going to click on why we vote, or I didn't even really read the whole title of it, but something about voting because that's relevant to us in the next few weeks. Why do we vote? I can do a multitude of things here, and if you've used Seesaw activities before, you know this. I can assign all of them, probably not the best idea. I can look through them and see what's pertinent to the TEK that I'm teaching. I can do the introduction as a present to class. I can do the practice as a present to class. Maybe it's appropriate for the apply activity to be done by my students independently, or maybe I want to do this in a small group. Maybe I want to have this as part of a station rotation, but I am in charge as a teacher. Once I click one of these activities, I can back to the lesson. I really want to open the lesson. Maybe I can. Here. You know that you can edit your Seesaw activities. I can see the standards that Seesaw has aligned to this activity, and I can even edit them here. I can say, I'm not really looking at some of these standards for this activity, so I'm going to take a few off. And they've got a ton on here. I can even add different ones if I want to. I can filter again and add more standards to this activity if I want to. You know that once you open a Seesaw created activity, you can edit it the way you want to. So I'm just going to save that. I'm not even sure what changes I made, but that is an amazing new part of Seesaw. Using that Browse by Standards and Curriculum button to find things that are already correlated to the standards you're teaching. What else can you do with these standards? Well, you can add standards to activities that you're creating. So, for example, let me get back to my class. If I've got activities that I want to create, I can tag them with a standard. When I'm creating or editing an activity, I've got an option right here where my standards are. I can filter again to the standards I need. And I can say this standard fits this activity, and I can save it again, and I can keep those standards connected to activities that even I create. Where that plays in really well is in the progress tab of my Seesaw class. I can sort how I view my activities by activities or by standards. So now I know that this standard was connected to an activity, and I can get information on how my student did. I can also even click on that student and kind of get like a little progress report about how they did on standards that were connected to activities, as long as I've gone in and rated them on that activity. So kind of neat over here. I can also filter for standards. So I can say maybe any activity that was tagged with this standard, I want to see what it is and how my class did on it. Um, Lots that I can do with standards beyond just searching for a correlation, but super exciting that that is in Seesaw now. Um, so I know you're going to love that part of it. I would have loved it as a classroom teacher. Amazing that Seesaw has done this. So site-wide standards, correlations, great new thing that we love in Seesaw. Number 2, read with me. Oh my goodness, when I was a classroom teacher, we didn't have digital tools, so I'm going to date myself there. But one thing I always had readers do was track while they read. They could track with their finger, with a bookmark, with a little window, all of the supports that they needed to track. Seesaw now has a way for you to add a reading passage to an activity where it will read to the student and highlight word by word or track to help those students who need that. This is part of the teacher's toolkit in a creative canvas, and it's just called Read With Me. Once you click on it, you paste your passage. Then one thing you do have to do is record your voice reading it. Once you do that, it will hop into your activity and you can click the button and it's going to read to your student with that highlighting, tracking word per word. So let's take a look at that. When I am in my Seesaw class and I go to my activities, I'm going to go to this Sharks Read With Me activity that I created, and we'll just do a present to class here. So this is where, actually, let's go back to the activity and let's look at how we do this. So how you do this when you're creating an activity is you're going to go to your teacher toolkit. You're going to choose Read With Me. This is where you're going to paste your text. This is where you're going to record your voice, and then you would add. And what it looks like when that happens is this. Once you add it, you have a little recording button over here, usually on the left. And when you click it, I think you guys will be able to hear my sound. I tried to turn it on today. See what happens.
What has fins, sharp teeth, and swims in the ocean? A shark.
So you've just created a read with me activity in Seesaw, where when those students are listening, they're going to see the tracking of those words to support them. You can do so much with this. I think it's an amazing upgrade. I think it's an amazing piece that they've put into Seesaw, and I'm super excited about our students being able to use it. So that is Read With Me. That is one of the new things to love in Seesaw. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 is a reading fluency assessment tool. This tool seems amazing. I would have loved this in the classroom. I can see so many ways to use it with students. Um, Even for just fluency assessment practice, I think this is an amazing tool. So a assessment tool in Seesaw will create an auto-graded reading passage assessment for your students. To create one of these, you're going to use the assessment option, and we'll walk through that in just a second. Your question type is going to be reading fluency. Your feedback mode can't be changed. It's always assessment mode. And then you give a time limit for your students. So kind of reining them into a time limit. You have anywhere from a few seconds to 5 minutes. So you have a wide range to choose from. You're going to paste your passage and click add, and it's going to land in your creative canvas. Now, Seesaw does the magic of auto grading this. And what you see as a teacher looks a little bit like what's in this slide. You see where a student um, didn't say a word and then maybe a word that they added. It gives you a percentage of what's correct based on the number of words and the mistakes that they made and the word count per minute. So let's take a look at reading fluency assessment. All right, back in our Seesaw class, we've got this reading fluency assessment tool. So let's look at what it takes to create one of these first. So when I'm creating my activity, I am going to use, actually, I think I need to back out and do this a little bit different. Sorry, this one isn't in the teacher toolkit. So I'm going to create an activity or an assessment. And here I'm going to start with an assessment. I would name it, I would give my instructions, but I start with assessment. And when I go to my question choices, I'm going to choose reading fluency. Here is where I can't alter that feedback mode, but I can alter the number of minutes I want to give my students to read this passage. So depending on its length and what you expect as a teacher. I'm going to paste my passage here, and then I'm going to add it. What pops onto the creative canvas is the reading that I expect the students to do and the button so that they know to record their voice. So let's look at one that has already been created. Sharks Fluency Assessment. We'll look at it like this, like a sample student. So sample student or any of your students are just going to see the passage and they would click here to begin recording their voice. Now, what that looks like on the teacher end is my activities. When I look at my responses, I'm going to see that sample student has read their passage. They missed several words. They omitted some words. They have a few extra words in here. But overall, the auto grading gave them a score of 94% with 62 word count per minute. And all of that it takes into account several things as it makes your score. However, you have the right to edit the score. So as a teacher, I can come in and change the score. The score here should be reflected here. I think it's not because I use sample student to actually read this. And so if sample student's data were in the mix, it would skew the data. So it's not reflecting the score it gave sample student down here. But isn't that cool that that's done for a student and for you? And this can just be used as practice. Like students could practice, they can see their score, and then they can work to get better. So, reading fluency assessment tool, pretty cool new thing to love in Seesaw. All right, let's see number 4. Number 4 is a new free response option in Seesaw called Short Answer. So, free response short answer is where Seesaw will auto grade a question that's probably just a 1 to 2 word short answer question. And you, as the teacher, have the ability to add multiple answers that could be right. So, for example, when you're building this, you're going to choose assessment, just like we did with reading fluency. You're going to choose short answer. You in this one, you can do practice mode where your students get feedback right away and it's not necessarily a graded activity, or you can do assessments mode where students would get their feedback after you took the grade. You add your question and then as many correct responses as you'd like, and then you add the question to your creative canvas. It ends up looking a lot like this. So the question is, what are shark babies called? And then the student would click on the text box, obviously, and make their answer and check their work. So let's see what this looks like in class. So to create one of these, we would use our add button. And again, we're going to choose assessment. We're going to choose that short answer. And it kind of reminds you there, just 1 to 2 word answers are going to be best for this. We're going to add our question here. Then we're going to make sure that we have the mode we want turned on. And then we're going to add as many responses as we think the students might give. And once we have all of them, we're going to click add here, and that question's going to go into the creative canvas. So I'm going to delete this one, and we will go back and look at one that's already made. Here's our short answer activity. We'll present it to class. So basically, I want my students to read the passage, and I've got my read with me enabled right here.
What has fins, sharp teeth, and swims in the ocean? A shark.
And then I want them to answer the questions. And so I can try to check their work. And this was one of the correct answers. And so it tells the student that they got it correct. Let's see if this was a correct answer. Nope. Try again. So the student can look back and find more words to try again. See if that one's, oh, nope. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead there. I can't even remember the number of answers that I typed or what was correct. But short answer, one of the new things that we can love about Seesaw. Let's check out number 5. All right, number 5 also has to do with free response. And this free response is an open-ended response to a Seesaw question. So this adds an open-ended response to an assessment. This one has to be graded by you as a teacher. So probably you're talking about your upper level students. This one again starts as an assessment. You choose an open-ended type of question. And then this one can't have a practice mode because it has to be graded by you as a teacher. It can't be auto graded. So it stays in assessment mode. You click your question, you add it to the canvas, and it gives the student a place to type their answer. That one's pretty self-explanatory. So again, let me show you what that looks like. We are going to add an assessment. We are going to choose not short answer, but open-ended question. We're going to add our question here and add. It gives me the question, the box for my students to give a response in. And so that will end up looking a little bit like this. I've got my passage again. Again, if my students need that read with me option, they have it. And then here, they're going to be able to add their answer about why they think people are afraid of sharks. So that's another great thing to love about Seesaw. Let's move over and talk about number 6. All right. I do love this one. I have thought that Seesaws needed this for a long time. Focus mode. You can choose what tools a student has access to on their Seesaw page by page. So, for example, if I don't want the drawing tools to be there, I can take them away. Or if I don't want the student to have the ability to make a recording, I can take that away. So I can help focus my students by minimizing distractions on the Seesaw pages. Because this is done page by page, you're going to use your 3 dots on the page option, go to focus mode, and hide all the tools or hide what you don't want students to see. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So when I'm in one of my activities, oops, I didn't mean to go in there as a student. So let me get out of that. I'm going to edit it. I can come to my first page, and in my first page, really all I want my students to do is draw with the drawing tools. So I can come over here to the 3 dots on page 1. I can go to focus mode, and I can hide all the tools and then open up the drawing tools and save. And on my page 2, I just want students to be able to type. So I am going to open up only the typing tool. And let's save and preview that as a student. Now you can see over here on the left, the only tool they can see is the text tool. Another great thing to use this in conjunction with is frames. If you haven't used frames in Seesaw, it adds a specific box for the way a teacher wants a student to respond. So it kind of begins that action of helping a student focus and taking away those extra distractions. A frame is another great way to do this if you don't want to use focus mode, but either would work. So I wanted to show you both. You can see on the page 1 where I took away everything except the drawing tools. Now all a student can see at the bottom is the drawing tools. So another great thing that Seesaw has put in place for our students and for you to maybe help you get some less random responses and hopefully help the students focus. All right. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is flex cards. This is an interesting addition to Seesaw that at first I wasn't sure what I thought about it. I just couldn't figure out ways that I felt like I could use it in the classroom. So I have since seen lots of interesting activities that Seesaw's made, and also some flex cards that they've included, which I think are really neat. So I'm going to show you one I like today, and I'm interested to see or hear about how you as teachers use this in the classroom. So flex cards are, think like digital flashcards. That's what they are. There are ways for you to create or use what Seesaw has already created for students to flip through something for practice over and over again. So on the slide, I'm showing you right here that on the Creative Canvas, these flex cards is going to come from the teacher toolkit. So you're going to click your teacher toolkit and you're going to choose flex cards. Once you do, you're going to get a menu to use the Seesaw made ones, which include things like letters, vowels, consonants, coins, coin flip, numbers, dice. That's the one I'm going to kind of show you today, and a few others that would be beneficial to you in the classroom. Or you can create your own. So for example, over here, I did a consonant, different consonants added to the ending of a word where a student, this would be the flex card, the letter B. So the student would flip through bat, mat, cat. You can have this student recording themselves as they flip the flex card and read the word. One of the neat things about these flex cards is you can add recordings to them or images. So as I flip through, when I see the word bat, I could listen to the recording of my teacher reading the word. So some interesting things you can do with these. So let's take a look. All right, in your activities, you're going to create an activity to get to flex cards. You're going to use the creative canvas and then again, your teacher toolkit. And here is where you choose flex cards. And I do want to point out that here's also where you choose frames. So if you want to designate the way that a student responds to something, you're going to use a frame. But we're going to talk about flex cards. I'm going to show you the Seesaw made ones first. So they're kind of in the menu that includes shapes and widgets. So you're going to see those at the top. But then you have like the dice flex card where it's going to roll the dice for you. It's going to roll it randomly. So that's really neat. I can think of lots of math activities you could do with that flex card. The other way you can use them are to create your own. You can choose your flex cards to be sequential or random. So that would be great for retelling a story. Or random would be great. So you're going to add text to the slides. So here's where I'm going to add my consonants if I'm doing a word grouping. And then you add to your creative canvas. And so then I would need to add another text box with the ending of my word if that's how I was using these. Oops, my text box disappeared in there somewhere. Wants me to put something in it. There we go. So then I would flip through, and I guess there we go. Oh, they're random. So it's just pulling them randomly. So that's kind of how you begin to build flex cards. I want to show you one that I found that Seesaw had created. This one was a high frequency word pair. And so the directions are to flip the words until you find two that match. So I'm supposed to flip it and flip it back. Oh, I think I found that one. So now that I have the two, I'm supposed to move them over in a pair and I'm supposed to record myself reading all of the words as I finish. But that's kind of just an interesting way that Seesaw sees to use the flex cards. I definitely would love to hear how you think you could use them because I do think they're super interesting and I think it's going to be something that makes Seesaw really neat. All right, let's move on to our last one. Number 8, admin dashboard. So this one isn't specifically for you as a teacher, but I do want to point out that Seesaw has a new admin dashboard for your principal. So one thing that your principal can do when they open up their admin dashboard is at the top, they're going to see a small collection of recently added posts. And it's going to be posts that Seesaw pulls from all of the Seesaw classes at a principal's campus. So what the principal is able to do is scroll through them. So like on the date that I pulled just a snippet, there were only 13 posts for this principal to look at. So it's not an overwhelming amount of things for the principal to look through. But one thing that I think is really neat here is the principal could like or comment on the student's activities. And I just think as a student, if I saw that my principal commented on something I did, that would be like extra cool factor for me as a student. So if you don't think your principal knows about this, you can mention it in their admin dashboard. They have a section called recently added posts where they can flip through and look at what students on their campus are doing. And then they can comment and give encouragement to students and just be a part of that learning piece without being even in the classroom for that moment. So wanted to point that out, share that with your principal. I think that that is something I really love about the new Seesaw features. So we've highlighted all 8. I hope you've enjoyed them. And I do apologize for our technical difficulties at the beginning. I'm going to go over some resources really quick, and then we'll end our presentation. So if you want today's slides, they're at this bit.ly/seesaw 8 things. 8 things to love about Seesaw. You're welcome to them. One thing that a Seesaw representative pointed out to me recently were these family resources So I'm going to click and show you these really quick. If you're struggling getting your parents connected to your Seesaw class, or maybe they're struggling to navigate Seesaw as a family member, or you need just a little more information to share with them on how to use messages, Seesaw's prepared those materials for you. They are all right here. Feel free to use them and send them home to your families as needed. So I wanted to add that link to the presentation. In addition, Seesaw has some new icons. I know some of you probably write your student instructions using their coding, their text shortcuts. So if I typed in my instructions, add colon, it would automatically populate the add response button for my students to see. If I type photo colon, it's going to automatically populate the camera button for my students to see in my directions. Because they had some new tools, they have created a new icon shortcuts page. Most of the ones that they had before are here and have not changed. There are a few new ones. So wanted you to have access to those. I talked about frames a little bit today. I just wanted to give you a link for using frames. Again, frames is where it allows you as a teacher to choose how you want your students to respond. And it gives you a little more control when your students are in that creative canvas. If you've never used Seesaw before and you're not sure where to start, this is a quick 4-minute video on 5 powerful ways to start with your students. I highly recommend it if you're new to Seesaw. And then I wanted to let you know where I got my information from today. Seesaw had a What's New in Seesaw blog, and that's where I took my information for this training. They also have quite a few of What's New in Seesaw slides, like lots of slides. I condensed the material for you and picked the 8 things that they seem to be highlighting the most. But if you want all of it because you love Seesaw so much, then you definitely want the slides. I also want to point out and want to go there really quickly that in your Seesaw classes, you have a What's New button. And I love, love, love that Seesaw did this because I can sit in a training and you can show me something new, but I won't get it until I do it. So right here at the top of your class, right beside your library button, you have a What's New button. If you want to know how to make flex cards, click that What's New button and click Flex Cards. It's going to take you to the how-to right at your fingertips. So you don't have to worry about coming back to my training or what was the bit.ly for my slides. Right here in Seesaw, you can learn about all of the features I highlighted today. The only one I didn't highlight on this list is bulk organized activities in my library. So if you want to know about that one, that link is right there as well. Seesaw always does a great job getting information to you in chunks so that you as a teacher can absorb it and then turn around and use it in their classroom. Last but not least, as we close out, we'd love for you to follow us. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, and YouTube. That's our YouTube live. We're at EdTech KISD. Follow us if you get a chance. If you see our posts, we'd love the like or the attention. Also, if you need information or how-tos from us on using products, EdTech products in Keller ISD, don't forget to check out our website. It's Kick. We try to post all of our how-tos there, including our YouTube live links go there as well. So that is www.kellerisd.net/kick. If you weren't aware, every time we do a YouTube live, the recording automatically jumps to our Kickstart Your Learning playlist on YouTube. So you can go back and watch all of our old ones or even just watch this one from today. If you hung with us, great. Thank you. I didn't ask you to chat or engage with us since we started so late today. Remember, if you watch the recording and you would like the SBEC credit, just shoot us an email at edtech@kellerisd.net or Christy Harold in Keller ISD. We're happy to give you the credit for watching the recording. And we apologize for the technical difficulties. So thank you for attending 8 Things to Love About Seesaw. And we will see you in November with another Kickstart Your Learning.
All right, it's over.
Oh, thank you
edit.
for hanging.